In 2014, a house in Bel Air sold for $150 million. The buyer tore it down, didn't renovate it, didn't live in it, tore it down, poured a new foundation, and spent 4 years building something else on the same dirt. The lot was worth $150 million. The house was worth zero. That's when real estate stops being real estate and starts being something else entirely. Most people hear mansion and picture the same thing. Big house, big gate, big driveway. They're not wrong. They're just describing level 1. The gap between a large house and what sits at the top of this list is wider than most people can imagine. Because at a certain point, a house stops being a home and starts being a monument. Let's get into it. Level 1, the entry point. The McMansion, 5,000 to 8,000 square feet. $1 to $3 million depending on market. This is where the word mansion technically enters the conversation, and where most owners first experience the gap between the house they wanted and the house they got. Suburban lot, gated community, or cul-de-sac. Double height foyer that's impressive for exactly 6 seconds. A kitchen island the size of a small country. A home theater room that gets used twice and then becomes storage. Developers at this tier optimize for the listing photo, not the living experience. Hollow core interior doors, windows that are architecturally random. The house has 13 different roof lines because someone kept adding rooms without ever looking at the exterior from the street. Who buys this? The surgeon who just made partner. The regional VP who relocated for the promotion and told the realtor, "I want the biggest house in the best school district." The small business owner who built something real, sold it for $4 million after tax, and bought the house his kids' friends would want to sleep over at. Reality check. A $2 million McMansion depreciates in ways a $2 million condo in Manhattan does not. The structure ages fast. 10 years in, you're replacing the roof, rebuilding the deck. The McMansion is not a bad house. It's a big house that pretends to be a great house. And most people can't tell the difference until they walk into a level 2. Level 2, the architect's house. 6,000 to 12,000 square feet. $3 to $10 million. This is where the conversation changes from how big to how good, and the gap is immediate. At this level, the house was designed by an architect, not selected from a catalog of floor plans. Designed. Someone studied the lot, considered the light at different times of day, thought about how the owner moves through space, chose materials that age rather than deteriorate. The construction quality jumps dramatically. Solid hardwood doors, plaster walls instead of drywall, windows sized and placed with intention, custom millwork, mechanical systems designed by engineers. Who lives here? The partner at the law firm who stopped caring about square footage and started caring about the ceiling height in the living room. The founder who kept the apartment in the city but built something outside it for weekends. Something with land. Something with a point of view. Something their friends walk into and say, "This feels different," without being able to explain why. The answer is the architect. The architect is why. Here's what changes at this level. The house stops being a commodity. A McMansion in a subdivision can be compared to every other McMansion on the block. An architect-designed home on its own lot cannot be compared to anything. It is the only version of itself. That makes it harder to sell in some markets, but it also makes it impossible to replicate. And that impossibility is where value starts behaving differently. A $5 million architect's home in the right market doesn't depreciate like a McMansion. It holds. Sometimes it appreciates. Because the lot is unique, the design is unique, and the buyer pool, while smaller, is willing to pay for something that cannot be found elsewhere. Level 3, the estate. 10,000 to 25,000 square feet. $10 to $30 million. This is where the house stops being a house and the property becomes a compound. At this level, you're not buying square footage. You're buying land, acreage, privacy. The house sits on 2 to 10 acres minimum. There's a gate. There's a driveway long enough that you can't see the house from the road. There's a guest house, a pool house, possibly a separate structure for staff. The main house has rooms that exist for a single purpose: a library, a wine cellar, a gym that rivals a commercial facility. The landscaping alone costs $50,000 to $150,000 per year. Who lives here? The family that used to live in a level 2 and realized that what they actually wanted wasn't a better house. It was distance. The CEO who works from the home office 3 days a week, walks the property in the afternoon, eats dinner with his family at a table that seats 14. This is the level where the annual carrying cost starts to rival a salary. Property taxes on a $20 million estate in Connecticut, New Jersey, or Westchester can run $200,000 to $400,000 per year. Insurance sits at $30,000 to $80,000. Staff, housekeeper, property manager, landscaping crew, adds another $150,000 to $300,000. The estate is where most wealthy families should stop. This is the sweet spot. Enough space to live grandly, enough land for privacy, and operating costs that are high but manageable for households with a net worth above $30 million. Everything above this level isn't a better house. It's a different category entirely. Level 4, the trophy property. 15,000 to 40,000 square feet, $30 to $75 million. This is where real estate stops being shelter and starts being statement. Trophy properties exist in a handful of zip codes. These are not houses that happen to be in expensive neighborhoods. These are houses that define the neighborhood. The lot alone, the dirt, without the structure, is worth $10 to $30 million, sometimes more. Sometimes the lot is the entire value, and the existing house is demolished because it's cheaper to rebuild than to renovate a structure that doesn't match the lot's potential. At this level, provenance matters. Who built it? Who designed it? Who owned it? A house designed by Richard Meyer, or Tadao Ando, or John Lautner doesn't depreciate. It compounds because the architect's name becomes part of the property's identity. Who buys this? The entertainment executive, whose home is also a venue, every room designed to accommodate 200 guests for a charity event, and also feel intimate when it's just the family on a Sunday. The tech billionaire who built from scratch and spent $15 million on the lot and $40 million on the construction. The stone comes from a quarry in Italy. The wood is reclaimed from a specific source. The glass was custom fabricated. The lighting designer has her own team. Construction takes 3 to 5 years. Some take longer. Some never finish because the owner keeps changing the plan. And at this level, changing the plan mid-build costs $500,000 to $2 million per revision. Level 5. The compound, 30,000 to 60,000 square feet, $75 to $150 million. At this level, you're no longer buying a house, you're buying a campus. The main residence is one building among several: guest house, staff quarters, security building, wellness facility, a car gallery, not a garage, a private screening room that would pass as a commercial cinema. Who lives here? The billionaire, whose household is also a small organization. The operating cost at this level rivals a small business. Annual carrying costs can run $2 to $5 million per year. That's before renovations, additions, or the inevitable reality that a 50,000 square foot compound always has something under construction. Here's the detail that people outside this world don't grasp. The owner of a level 5 compound doesn't manage the house. The owner doesn't even manage the people who manage the house. There is a layer between the owner and the operations that exists specifically so the owner never has to think about the house unless they want to. The fact that nothing in the physical environment requires the owner's attention, ever, unless the owner chooses to give it. That is what $100 million buys. Level 6, the legacy estate. 40,000 to 100,000 square feet, $150 to $300 million. This is where a house stops being a purchase and starts being a dynasty project. Legacy estates are not bought. They're built over decades. or they're acquired from families who built them over decades. The common thread is that these properties were never designed for a single lifetime. They were designed to be passed down. The construction at this level is institutional. The materials are chosen for century-scale durability. The stone, the timber, the metalwork, all specified to last 100 years with proper maintenance. Who commissions this? The third-generation family that has the wealth, the time horizon, and the desire to anchor their name to a physical place. The patriarch who wants his grandchildren to bring their grandchildren to the same dining room. The family that views the property not as an asset on a balance sheet, but as a physical expression of who they are across time. Annual operating costs at this level can run $5 to $15 million. Full-time staff of 15 to 30. Security infrastructure that operates continuously. Some have their own water treatment systems. Some generate their own power. The property begins to function as a self-sustaining estate. The parallel is deliberate. A level 6 estate and a level 5 super yacht serve the same psychological function. They create a world within the world. The difference is that the yacht moves, the estate stays. And in staying, it accumulates something the yacht cannot: history. Level 7, the final level, the palace. 100,000 square feet and above. $300 million to over $1 billion. Buckingham Palace, 775 rooms, 828,000 square feet. Estimated value between $1 billion and $5 billion, depending on who you ask and whether you include the art, the crown jewels, and the fact that it sits on 39 acres in central London. Antilia, Mumbai, owned by Mukesh Ambani. 27 floors, 400,000 square feet. Estimated construction cost, $1 to $2 billion. 600 full-time staff. 3 helipads. A private cinema seating 50. The building requires its own power plant. The running costs are not publicly disclosed, but are estimated in the tens of millions per year. Antilia is not a house. It is a vertical estate, a private skyscraper in one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. No real estate agent lists these. No broker markets them. They change hands through private negotiations, family trusts, or sovereign transfers. The owner of a level 7 property doesn't live in a house. The owner presides over a legacy that happens to have an address. The residential real estate market started as a simple idea: shelter, a place to sleep, to eat, to raise a family. And somewhere between the $2 million McMansion and the $1 billion palace, the product stopped being the house. A guy at level 1 and a family at level 7 are both doing the same thing. They're drawing a line between their world and everyone else's. One's doing it with a gate and a Ring doorbell. The other is doing it with 600 staff and a snow room in Mumbai. Every other industry sells you a product. Real estate, at the highest level, sells you the only thing wealth can permanently alter: the physical world around you. A jet disappears when you land. A yacht moves on when the season ends. A house stays. It holds the wall where you marked your children's heights. It holds the kitchen where your family gathers every Sunday. It holds the morning light that hits the same spot on the same floor at the same time every single day. The house was never the point. The permanence was. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down how things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.